All right. Georgia 31, Tennessee 17. Yet another road collapse for Josh Heupel. Great. Love this. This is good. Tennessee now their path to the playoff completely out of their own hands. There's nothing you can do. You lost. If Georgia won and covered, you lost by 14. The narrative is going to be that you lost by multiple touchdowns as Tennessee finishes 12th and Boise State takes their place in the playoff. All right, Crump, what's up? Big R A to Z Sports, Big Orange post-game reaction show brought to you by Zen Sports, Farm Bureau Health Plans. What's up, man?
Just didn't play well enough offensively in the second half. Plain and simple.
Oh, offensively, and I mean, the defense, especially that final drive where they took a 2-touchdown lead, just getting our butt whipped down the place.
Okay. I mean, and here's the thing. Hey, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Without the defense, we got 5 losses. So I don't want to hear it.
That's true. That's definitely true.
You can sit here and say, oh, the one drive that they got, the one drive or 2 drives. Well, without we went 3 games without an offensive point in the first half. So don't sit here and point fingers at the defense tonight. The bottom line is, we said this a month ago. Eventually, our defense is going to have a game because that's a game like this because that's the reality. It sucks. But what did I say? Hey, 35 wins it. I told you, probably going to have 35.
Yep. Yeah, you said it. You did say it, and you were correct. And I mean, that's what I was thinking. You were going to have to score 35. You were.
Yeah. I'm not sitting here. I'm not defending our defense, but you also got to score more than 17 points.
Yeah, period.
So
the 2 SEC losses.
Yeah, I mean, their tight ends played better than I expected they would tonight. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 SEC losses that you've taken, you have been unable to reach 20 points, both of them on the road, both of them in tight spots. I don't want to say that there's a pattern there, but let's be honest. Yeah, I mean, just once again, the offense doesn't travel. We've seen the offense not travel for Josh Heupel. That's kind of been the case. The defense not showing up tonight hurt. That hurt a lot. That was you're absolutely right. Without this defense, you're not here. No. You're not in that 8-1 now 8-2 spot with a chance to solidify your playoff spot. But they got nothing. I mean, Beck could have read a book. He could have written a dissertation. He could have, just put his feet up on the ottoman back there with how much time he had. And you got rocked in the trenches. Rocked. I mean, this wasn't close. This was the type of game that I would expect to see in 2021 where that second half, I mean, in the first half, you were playing with a little more pride. That second half, I mean, you just got your butt kicked. You could blame the refs all you want. There were some absolute nonsense calls. And I would say that drive where Georgia took a 24-17 lead was some really questionable calls. Some very, very questionable calls. But you got your butt kicked. I mean, you did. I don't know. That's what happened. Somebody tell me I'm wrong and give me a reason why.
I don't feel like arguing, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Dude, come on. No. No.
Because here's the thing. The snippet for he could have sat back with his feet up on an ottoman, that's all BS. They had a great game plan to quick play action, get the ball out quick to try to it's called play action pass. PAP, play action pass for a reason.
Even everybody has been playing.
What ball? What ball did they now granted that last go ball to Humphreys? Stupidly good coverage, but even better of a throw, and don't know how the kid caught the ball. Say it that way. I don't even know if he knew that he caught it. Say it that way. Phenomenal coverage. It was. And you could tell he was just trying to get it out, whatever. But the bottom line is, what ball did they complete? Consist outside of a dig route. In case you're wondering, dig routes are at 14 yards. That's important for this. Over 15 yards, Charlie. Please tell me.
How many did Georgia complete?
Yeah, you tell me. Over 15 yards because dig routes are in at 14.
It it felt like a number of them in that second half.
I don't want to hear felt like. I want to know a number.
I don't know. I don't know. I
Let
have no idea. It felt like any.
Let me finish my statement. So don't sit here and go, well, he had us for the snippet of he had time to put his feet up on the ottoman. We did not get a pass rush, but don't sit here and make it look like the sky's falling for our defensive line.
I don't think the sky's falling because I think
that's what you made it sound like. No, that's what you made it sound like.
You can go and play a team that's far less formidable than Georgia, and you'll beat your whoever. Like if you had to play Missouri next week, yeah, they probably would rock Missouri. That's true, but like Missouri is not the team that's standing between you and a national championship. It's Georgia. Like that's the team that's standing between you and a national championship.
The bottom line is Georgia had a great offensive game plan tonight with play action pass. They did. Well, it goes back to what I talked about this morning on my show with my dad and our co-host was Tom Brady said this a while ago, and I can't remember who said it recently. The reason why the NFL is a, lackluster league to watch is because the lack of quarterback development. All right. Meaning in the college game, when do you ever see us get in the pistol? Which means the tailback go right behind the quarterback and play action pass. We don't do that. We don't but it's not just us. I'm saying there's a lot of people. You run to set up the pass and you can play action pass. We're a run first team, but we don't play action pass. Does that make sense? All of 95% of their big plays tonight were play action pass. That's how you do it. That's how you set up the seams. That's how you set up the 14-yard dig routes, the 14-yard seam routes, the 10-yard out routes is play action pass. They just had a better offensive scheme or game plan than our defensive game plan tonight. And I said at halftime, we needed to play more zone.
It seemed like, again, I'd have to rewatch to see the full-blown front to back exactly what happened. It seemed like anytime Tennessee blitzed that they were able to hit us over the top in that mid-range, it was to a tight end. You said it. Their tight ends played far better than I think anybody thought they were going to. Bell is out in that second half. That's their best wide receiver, and we kind of said, oh, maybe that's the guy that could roast Tennessee. Well, it turns out that it's going to be Oscar Delp, that it's going to be the tight ends. Of course, it was always going to be the tight ends. That's who I said in the analysis leading up to this game that Brock Bowers is not walking through that door, and he certainly didn't. They didn't have to have him. The guy that they roasted you with is no Brock Bowers, but they roasted you with him nonetheless. And that is just it's just unacceptable. I don't know. Yes, I can say that Georgia had that better game plan and all that stuff. When are you going to have the better game plan in the big spot? When? Because you're on year 4 now. This is year 4. This is how often am I going to give this pass to Josh Heupel where it's just, in the biggest game, in the game where it really mattered, in the biggest spot, they had the better game plan. Well, freaking have the better game plan in the biggest spot, Josh. I don't know.
Charlie. Well, first off, I'm going to address this comment, and then I'll go to that. So Roley said they had 6 plays over 20 yards. I get that. I'm talking about throwing it over 20 yards. I don't know the number. I'm not talking about catch and runs. So I appreciate the comment, but if you do know that, could you let me know? Because I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Over 15 yards of thrown it. But secondly, what did we say a couple weeks ago about offense is not going to change, right? And I'm going to quote you. You ready? Okay, and his tenure. Go ahead and tell me what his record versus Georgia and Florida and Alabama is.
Georgia and Florida and Alabama.
No, not Georgia. Just Florida and Alabama, because this was after Alabama game.
2 and
no. So he's beat them 3 times in the past 3 years, something like that.
Yeah. He's beaten each twice. Yeah, he's beaten each twice, and he's lost to him twice. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were like, man, hey, I'll take that. So you can't be wishy-washy here. You straight up said, no. Hear me. You straight up said you would take the game plan and all this, beating Alabama and beating Florida. But how many times have we, and everybody even in the comments are agreed with this over years, our offensive system, you know what you're getting. You know what I'm saying? Like when it's great, it's great. When it's not, it's not. Like when it's great, it's great. It's not, it's not. And that it's frustrating as hell. I agree with you. Dude, I'm the first. Like it honestly, it pisses me off if you want to know the truth.
Well, really,
But
I'm
trying to make sure. I'm just trying to let you know the sky's not falling. I agree with you though. We played like boo-boo tonight, like all around. Outside of the first 2 drives. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
First 2 drives we played flawless.
I mean, the real truth is this. Why'd you lose to Arkansas? Because if you didn't lose to Arkansas, this game doesn't matter like this.
We played like absolute crap that game.
I mean, absolute garbage dump. Just because in this one, yeah, I mean, you had some plays in this one where you brought it a little bit, but you backed yourself into this corner where you had to beat Georgia. You had to beat the freaking powerhouse of the last 5 years of college football to get into the playoff. I mean, if we're being completely honest, maybe you make it into playoff and some crazy things happen, but it's out of your hands now. And that's disappointing. The narrative that I see is that it's going to be, well, they got blown out at Georgia, and so they're just on the outside looking in. That's going to be the narrative. That's what's going to happen. And it's another, I mean, that sucks. That's not in this day and age. That's not acceptable. When you have this defense, you have this quarterback, you have everything that Tennessee has going for them, not making this playoff is not an acceptable outcome. That's a failure. That's a full-blown failure. That's a failure of a season. And I don't know. I wish I could frame it another way. That's what it is. And that might not happen. Again, you might have some teams that help you out, but if that is what happens and that's the narrative that they get you with, and the freaking AD at Michigan, who is the chair of the college football playoff committee, that, when they lay that on you here in a few weeks,
which that's a side note, crazy that
I can't believe that's really the guy they put there.
I can't believe,
but that's what it's going to be. And you did this to yourself. Like it really goes back to that Arkansas game. Did I expect to go in and beat Georgia, who hasn't lost there since 2019? They have not lost there since 2019. Like, did I go in and we're definitely beating Georgia there? No, I did not expect that. But, I mean, you did this to yourself nonetheless with that game at Arkansas. It's just another thing that just leaves you kind of beating your head against the wall when it didn't have to. And, here we are. I guess I would say your prayers if BYU loses tonight and Notre Dame loses. I
get it. Something happens. Let's look at it in another perspective real fast. And I'm just, once again, I like to play devil's advocate. I think it's fun. You're going to come. I just need a yes or no. You're going to complain with 10-2?
Yes. I am, because here's what I think about it.
No. I just want to be yes or no. If you're going to complain with 10-2, kudos. I get it. But now if we had been to the playoff 3-4 times, then I would sit here and go, you're damn right I'm complaining with 10-2. Does that make sense? Like if we had Georgia should complain with 10-2 for having back-to-back national championships a couple of years ago. 100%. Does that make sense? We also got to be realistic of where our program is at. 10-2, double-digit wins is phenomenal. Is it going to get us in the playoffs? We have no idea because there's still, quote-unquote, the old cliche, a lot of ball to be played outside of our schedule. We don't know. Texas and Texas A&M still got to play. So I don't know what's going to happen. But this is a good comment. It says, this was a dogfight for the majority of the game. Truth is, UGA has slipped a bit, and we're not quite good enough to beat them at home. We're close, though. I 100% agree with that comment.
Yeah, I mean, if that game happens in Neyland, you're at a minimum, I think you're really close to winning. You definitely would have had a chance probably right there at the end if you don't just flat out win by a touchdown. Fine. Hey, that's great. You beat Alabama, and that is amazing. Like, these amazing things have happened. But at the end of the day, you have to hold the team to where you have to meet them where they're at. And where they're at is it's play. I mean, it's like with a basketball team. Like last year with Dalton Connect. You look at that entire setup with the basketball team, and you go, if these boys don't make a run in the NCAA tournament, this is a failure. Because you make the NCAA tournament. That's fine. It's kind of like with this football team. Yeah, you can make it to 10-2. Okay. That's great, and it was a lot of fun along the way. We got to smoke a cigar against Alabama. That was awesome. Like in that season with Dalton Connect, you beat Alabama on the road, and it was an amazing win, and it was really fun. And there were real moments. You won in Rupp Arena, but then at the end of the day, if you don't make a run in the NCAA tournament, what the hell does it matter? What are we doing?
So then I'm gonna ask you to do me a favor then, because I want to make sure that I'm correct. Our first show, when I predicted 10-2 or 11-1, and you said I would take that any day of the week, I need that snippet.
I mean, I don't necessarily take it back.
I know. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm also going to hold accountability, like when that was said at the beginning of the year.
But here's where the facts have changed on the ground.
But from then, because I predicted Georgia or Alabama and one other random loss. I honestly did not think it would be Arkansas. Did not think that would happen.
Me either.
But 10-2 is still 10-2.
But here's where the facts have changed on the ground from when I originally said that. The perception was always from the beginning of the season that if you went 10-2 as an SEC team, you're definitely making it in the playoff. That's all but a given.
Once again, it doesn't work that way. Perfect comment. That's moving the goalpost. We can't move the goalpost.
It is.
It is.
But here's the thing. I think everybody who's watching this, including the guy that just said I moved the goalpost, probably thought a 10-2 Tennessee team makes the playoff before the season started. And tell me that you didn't think that. Tell me you didn't think that. Again,
that's not. I still think we get in. I don't think we get a home game. I do still think we get in. I do, because of SEC.
Maybe
that's. I could be wrong.
The possibility is not off the table.
It's not. It is not off the table at all. So I mean, like I think we get in, but I just think it's funny that we can change the narrative of 10-2 to fit the narrative of tonight.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Here's where
this is what I look at. Now, I will also go on the record and say we did not play our great tonight, or our best tonight at all on offense or defense. We did not. Now, do I think the referees, was that a face mask? Nope, was not. And it should have been 3rd and 8. Nothing we can do about it. I do think it was a bad call. I do. I think that was a bad call. That gave them a first down to continue a drive and end up scoring. Things like that, I do think went against us. But the bottom line is, and this is what I have to tell my players too, we can't determine that outcome for the referees. Now, I'll argue with the referee. No, I'll argue with the referee all day. And I will tell them, your job is to call the game fairly, but not, keyword, not directly affect the outcome of a game. And I do think that one specific play did help affect the outcome of the game. I do, because of momentum.
It probably did. But I am never like, something truly egregious has to happen for me to be the refs caused this loss.
Oh, no, I'm with you.
I hate that.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying I think that play directly affected the momentum that could affect it. Like, honestly, because a 3rd and 8 versus a 1st and 10 on the 50, totally different play calls coming up.
You're not wrong.
I'm not going to say that one play lost the game. That's not my point. I'm just saying it definitely helped change momentum in their favor. And then at that point, things just started rolling.
It did. We have three paid comments that I do want to get to. James Fair said, the last 2 years, Josh has scored 0 points in the second half. I don't know if he's referring just to the Georgia game. The last 4 years, we have scored 14 points in the second half against Georgia, outcoached. Timothy says, Charlie, blame the refs. Not blame the refs. He says, blame the players now that they're getting paid. I'm not going to
totally disagree with that, though.
That's not a wrong point. Thornton, catch the football. Catch the football, Dante.
I'm not going to totally disagree with that at all.
Yeah. Timothy McGee, again, he says, Crompton, do we have a normal goal line defense? Kind of random, but.
Well, it's actually a good question. I think we try to do match, essentially match for match of, are they in 12 personnel, 22 personnel, 23 personnel, any of those things. But no, it doesn't seem like we end up just getting like normal goal line. Like you're getting your big, like the old cliche, the big and nasty players on the field. You know what I mean? Like the big boys, gone up the middle. I don't really feel like we've had that much this year, like as far as a goal line set. Now 4th and 1, I get it because anything can happen, but we're on like the 2-yard line. I don't think that's a bad question because I don't have an answer for that. I haven't seen a goal line set that's like, oh, you know what? Like that's a douche. Now we're a speed rush team, but that's not for goal line. No, so I don't have an actual answer for that. Tonight's it's just crazy. And like I said, I like to play devil's advocate because it's fun. It gets people commenting. We get to talk about it. But the bottom line is we did not play. Sure as hell, obviously we lost. We didn't play our best game, obviously.
Well, I'm also catastrophizing, and I certainly know that. I mean, it feels like the committee, specifically with this last week, where Indiana and BYU did absolutely nothing that would justify hopping Tennessee, and they hopped Tennessee. Yeah. It felt like the committee was setting Tennessee up to get booted because, again, Georgia has not lost at home since 2019. The task here was massive. Like, don't kid yourself. They're not going to lose at home this season. They're not going to lose at home for another year until 2025. That's not going to happen for Georgia.
Yeah.
Like the task here was massive. And
no doubt.
And the committee set you up to get booted. Tennessee will not be in the playoff this week on Tuesday. They might if other things fall and if you go in. Now, let's be clear here. I think a lot of people have been saying it in the comments. You still got to go. You don't just only have to beat Vanderbilt. You got to like toy with Vanderbilt, kind of smack them around and beat their head in. I think put on an impressive show maybe to get into the playoff. Because I think they just have it out for you in this one. You just ended up being the chosen team because your only top-notch win is against Alabama, which is a team that's in the playoff currently, let's be clear. You beat a team that's in their bracket. But that hasn't mattered in years past. You did it in 2022 also. But, you beat a team that's in the bracket, but that's it. That's all. Indiana has a win over
nobody.
Who's that win? Who's that win that Indiana has? Now, at the same time, I think if Indiana loses to Ohio State next week by any more than 7, they're going to get freaking booted into outer space also. But that's just my personal feel on the situation. I think they're kind of setting them up to get, booted too. But I'm
just rounding like the Indiana deal. I wouldn't say I'm an Indiana hater.
They're a fly in the ointment, though. They're in the way.
But here's the thing, though. Their strength of schedule is 103rd.
Yeah, like they're a nonsense.
That's where it's hard for me. It's hard for me to get on board with that. Now, granted, I know they have 0 losses in their Big Ten team, but that would, to me, and I said it this morning this way, Indiana having a good season doesn't do anything for the Big Ten. It's just icing on the cake. It's like if Kentucky or Vanderbilt has a good season in football, it's like, it's icing on the cake for the SEC. Nobody expected it.
It's like if Vandy had continued to win or if let's be honest here, if South Carolina had beaten Alabama, they'd probably be in right now.
They would have a chance. They'd be up there because they were 21st before tonight. If they beat them, they're at least 14.
They're right there.
And so that's my thing. It's like, I don't know. I'm trying to look. Let's see. Notre Dame, they played Virginia today. Whoop-de-doo. Alabama played Mercer today. So, here's the thing. Those teams are only going to move up at a process of elimination of our loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they would have moved up at all if we win. I'm trying to just look. Who did Ole Miss play today?
No. I
Okay.
don't think.
Okay. Boise played San Jose State. You know, like SMU played Boston College.
And
So
Boise was losing for a big part of that game.
Yeah.
Probably, but.
I don't think we drop. Honestly, I could be wrong. I could see us dropping to I hate to say it, to 12 and be left out for right this second, and only because
that's what's going to happen.
Only because of us losing. But here's the thing: SMU and Miami are probably going to play in the ACC championship game. The loser, we get back in. Does that make sense?
Potentially.
I still think we get in. I think we may end up being 11 or 12.
There are roads, and I think you have Greg Sankey, who nobody really likes to talk about it, especially at the national level, but Greg Sankey's the most powerful man in college football. It's not close, frankly. And he's going to try to bludgeon the committee into getting as many SEC teams in as possible, probably. And, there's factors there that maybe Tennessee slips its way back in. But like I said, you got to go. Clearly, you got to go beat friggin' UNLV next week. Or not UNLV, UTEP.
UTEP, yeah.
UNLV. But you got to go beat UTEP, and then you got to wax Vandy. You got to show up, and you got to go, wait. Our defense actually is good. Diego Pavia is shut down, and we're going to beat Vandy by 20 points. You got to do something like that.
It's got to be it needs to be a double-digit win for sure.
Yes.
And preferably not 10 points double-digit, but it's got to be a double-digit win.
Yeah, and then from there, the chance is still there. I would guess if you got the prediction from ESPN, it's probably like 55% Tennessee gets into the playoff from here, something like that. Sure, it's right there for you still, but I don't know, man. You just took it out of your own hands when this game was tied at halftime, and then they kicked your butt the whole second half. You did not. This is exactly like Alabama last year. You had a 14-point lead at the half, and you lose by like 20. Like, what are we doing? This tied at the half, and they just kick your butt in the second half, and you don't score a point, a single point. You barely move the ball.
So when Mr. Jones Mr. Jones says A&M needs to beat Texas. No, they don't, because then that would put A&M having a chance to play for the championship, SEC championship, and if they win, we don't get in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Texas.
We just need Texas to stay status quo. Honestly.
Yeah, it needs to come from somewhere else. It needs to be Notre Dame losing. It needs to be from somewhere else.
No, they're going to put Notre Dame in regardless because of the name Notre Dame. They just call that like it is.
I think because they would lose to like a 4-5 USC team. Or what? Did USC win today? I think they might have.
They did, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think USC is like 5-5. Like, you can't.
Yeah, they're 5-5. They've got Notre Dame's got Army and USC left.
And maybe my hunch is wrong, but I do feel like Indiana next week, if they lose by more than a touchdown or two to Ohio State, it's going to be curtains for them. They're going to be outside looking at. You don't? I don't think so.
I don't
really?
Think so. Here's
they're so borderline. I mean, they're number 6.
I know,
and I could just see them.
I think the committee. I talked about it. This was a conversation I was having this morning. I think the committee was going to go 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC, the other 3 champions, and then Notre Dame.
Maybe.
And here's why, though. Money. Straight up money. So to me, the
Tennessee would command a audience close to Notre Dame. I mean, I don't.
No, but that's what I think. Like I said, I think we'll be one of the ones in. I do, because ACC still has to have a championship game. Miami is going to be in that as of the moment. I'm saying if it was today.
Yeah.
If Miami is in it and they lose, we're in. If Oregon and Ohio State have to still play in the Big Ten championship game as long as Indiana loses to Ohio State. right? So at that point, the best case scenario, what we really need, honestly, is we almost need Indiana to beat Ohio State and then to beat Oregon to give Ohio State a second loss, give Oregon a loss. Indiana ended up being, weirdly enough, the 1 seed. Do you see what I'm getting? Like, that's kind of the path. That would be the easiest path for us. Because then at that point, then you have an argument of going, oh, are we in or Ohio State? Both 2 losses, blah, blah, blah. Now, granted,
we'll see. I don't know.
We know where they would go. We're not dumb. But there's ways that we get in. I think Colorado's going to win the Big 12. That's just my opinion. And if that's
good enough, but I don't know if they will.
But here's the thing. If they did, then that takes BYU, who's ranked 6th right now, and drops them out. We bump back in. You see what I'm saying? Like there's avenues. It's just not going to be easy.
We'll see.
Our fate is not in our own hands. That's the part that does suck.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get a home game now, which sucks.
That is definitely off the table. I don't know. We'll find out. Let's do this, and this can kind of lead us into the final part of the show. Georgia 31, Tennessee 17. Another road collapse for the Vols, although ultimately not entirely unsurprising. A lot of people watching, hanging out with us here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Sorry that I'm being a bit of a negative Nelly tonight. But, I mean, 31-17, Georgia over Tennessee. It is what it is. Drop into the comments, everybody that's watching, and give us one word for how you're feeling right now. One word after that loss with the chances that you think we might have in the playoff and everything else that's kind of laid out for Tennessee. Still got to go through Vandy. What's one word for how you're feeling right now? Drop into the comments and tell us, and we'll read all of them. I'll get Cromp's word right after I tell you about Farm Bureau Health Plans. Farm Bureau has been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years. Much has changed in Tennessee over the years, but some has stayed the same. Farm Bureau Health Plans has always valued personal relationships, especially when it comes to good health and good service. Plan on Farm Bureau for health, dental, and vision. For better coverage, better rates, and better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ or walk into one of their 200-plus locations across the state. That is fbhp.com/ATOZ. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Oh, we already got 35 comments from when I went to the read there for the that ad. One word for how you're feeling after a 31-17 second half collapse from Tennessee. We're asking the chat here. Overby says pissed. Pat says disgusted. Zach Future Hat says cheated. Chris says proud. Depressed says Bradley. Nolan says terrible. Colorblind says robbed. Eric says pisses. A couple of those now. Disappointed from Dom, and I'll throw it to you, Cromp. One word for how you're feeling right now.
More just frustrated for the fact of it's right there for the taking. And once I can't put my finger on why, but I just keep going back to, like, remember Dennis Green, the Cardinals coach back in the day?
Yep.
We are who they thought they were.
We are. They are who we thought they were.
You know what I'm saying? But I use that trying to at least be a little funny to myself about our offensive system. Our offensive system is what we think it is, or what we see it is. It's highest of highs and lowest of lows.
Yeah.
The highest of highs and lowest of lows. That's just, and we've known that though, and we've talked about it. And unfortunately, we have not, outside of outside of really the Kent State game, right? Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State. Outside of really Kent State, we haven't had a just miraculous performance. Mississippi State, I mean, because of Mississippi State's the caliber of team they were.
I think that was going in the direction of like a 400-yard game for Nico. He had almost 200 at the half and a couple of touchdowns, but that's neither here nor there because he didn't play the second half. So.
Oh, I got you. Mississippi
State last week.
Yeah. No, I'm just going off of the numbers. You know what I mean? Like I think Heupel is phenomenal for our program, for the community, for the team, for the university. It's just the offensive system. We run it's not called this, but I'm going to call it the air raid version of Army. Meaning, because it's called the veer and shoot technically, but meaning you know what's coming. Like 98% of the time, you know what we're running. Hope you can stop it. And that's what Army does. Navy does. Air Force does. You know what I'm saying? Like
Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt does that. To a certain, they don't run exactly that, but they sort of do.
It's just that's the reason I'm frustrated is because I do see from the coaching's perspective, I see the end result of what he's going to. But as the fan in me goes, I want it now. But the reality is that's not how life works. That's the crappy part. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm kind of speaking out both sides of my mouth here, and I know that.
I get you though.
But it's one of those that's like I'm frustrated because we are talented, but we're not making the plays when they're there to be made, and then more frustrated of why I just want Brew to get the ball more. Like we're not targeting Brew, and I don't know why.
Timothy kind of says it right here. He said, "I'm sad when a Mike Bobo offensive scheme is more creative."
Dude, that right there,
100%.
We could have ended the show after that tonight. We could have just said that and said, "All right, have a great evening, everybody."
Oh God,
that hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty tough. I'll go. I guess one word for how you're feeling after that stinker of a loss against Georgia. I think this is 2 words, but it sort of feels like 1 word, I guess, like deja vu. Like this is the same old. This is, and again, it's not that I was genuinely expecting to go into Athens and read Georgia the Riot Act or anything and just, hand them an L flat out. But I didn't expect, like in this game, I didn't expect your defense to get their butt kicked. Maybe I expected the offense to be vanilla and squeak out, a few points. And you were going to get, to your point there, you're going to get what you're going to get most of the time with this offense. And they weren't going to come into this game and try to reinvent the wheel. But this is just deja vu, like yet again, we're in the biggest spot with everything on the line. They blow it.
All right. So I think this is a deserving conversation tonight. Okay. We've talked about this in the past. I don't remember when we talked about it this year, but it was brought up. Heupel is our University of Tennessee's Mark Richt. And tonight's the most fitting because of Georgia. Where, think about it, Georgia under Richt, they were always right there. And then
maybe
never really got over the hump. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I correct in agreeing with that comment? Like,
we had this conversation a little bit ago, and
when was it?
So I will say the jury is still out because there is this scenario still on the table. If you slip into the playoff this year and you make a run to a semifinal at worst,
okay,
then I think you've hopped the Mark Richt.
I could agree with that. I guess I'm saying just at the moment.
So far, because of the across the board, just when it comes to the biggest moment, it's counted a loss. Like that's been true. The biggest moment on the road, I guess. The biggest moment on the road for Heupel. When he's at home, I mean, he's nearly unstoppable.
Yeah.
But the biggest moments for him so far have come on the road, and he loses them all. He's lost every single one, and then loses the Arkansas game too, and which was not the biggest moment, and they blew that one. Yeah. So I guess I would agree to that extent. I do want to read some other, again, one word for how you're feeling after that game. Bradley says depressed, Nolan, terrible, colorblind, robbed. I think I might have read some of these already. Here we go. Adam says Nico, optimistic. Interesting. Evan says sad, out coach from James, hopeful, horrible, says Foshi, sad, over for Dom, disappointed, failure from Eric. One that I can't say from David because it is a no word. One you can't say on YouTube, or at least you can, but not on this channel. Here's some more. Chris says hopeful, and maybe we should be hopeful that they can still make the playoff. But I almost, Dylan says self-destructed. I feel that one. It does feel like he's self-destructed. Like that's, it's just almost unavoidable to have that conversation. But that's where we're at. I don't know. I don't want to do this for two. I'll be completely honest, Crop. I don't want to do this for that much longer.
I know.
This sucks.
I'm going to read this comment because this is going to spark some interest, and I think it's going to be funny. I'm not going to lie.
Go ahead.
David Arnold. This is why we need to bring Kiffin back.
Oh, boy.
I knew it was going to get you. I knew it was going to get you. I knew it was going to get you.
Speaking of a guy who could never win the big game until last week, he finally did. He finally won the big game. Kiffin did. Yeah. Oh, boy. No.
You want to get creative on offense?
I mean, there's no doubt about that. I would stand by, as of right now, who knows how this plays out. Again, possibility on the table that you make the playoff and you have a chance to make a run, and yada, yada, yada. We all know the possibilities that are still on the table here. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I would hate it if Halsley moved on after the season. I don't know. Just and specifically if Heupel if Heupel was forced to hire outside of the house.
It's not Halsey though. Heupel's calling the plays, bud.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter who the OC is.
If he was forced to bring in somebody from outside with an actual stronger voice that's not just young and internal and
it's his baby. It doesn't matter. He's calling it. It is. No, he's calling it. Mark Richt. I'm not saying this in that way. Even though Bobo was the offensive coordinator for a long time, Mark called the plays for a very long time and would not pass it over to him. A lot of coaches do that. Kiffin has turned it over to Charlie Weiss Jr. Lincoln Riley calls the plays. Doesn't matter who the OC is. It's Lincoln's plays. That's the whole thing. Like, hell, when I played for Kiffin, he called the plays even though he wasn't the OC. That's so the only way we're getting a new deal is if Hype agrees to give up play calling. It's like, yeah, I'll relinquish it because that's very
supposedly
to do that though.
Supposedly with Golish, he actually did let Golish do his thing. And it was different. I mean, you saw some wrinkles when Golish was the OC.
But we also had a receiver that ran a 4.340.
That's true.
So that the system didn't change. I'll just say it that way. Names didn't change. System didn't change. Motions didn't change. The way things are called didn't change. And I know that firsthand. So it doesn't matter if it was Golish or not. Once again, if it was Golish calling the plays, then Heupel wouldn't be calling the plays now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He would have actually given those play calling duties up. That's what I'm getting at. So I'm just telling you the truth. Like, Heupel calls the plays. it is what it is. If we wanted a new OC, so to speak, then that means you get a new head coach, or Heupel has to be willing to relinquish play calling duties.
Well, it is interesting to kind of say, like, I remember having the conversation before Heupel was hired. The situation was so bad at the end of Pruitt where we went, you know what would be great right now is a guy who perpetually wins 9 games and could be the bridge to your championship coach. I remember having that exact conversation before Heupel was hired. And again, I don't know if I'm at the point where I'm going to say he is that dude. It might be leaning that direction a little bit right now. But I did genuinely say, hey, if he can be that 9-win-a-year guy and then get us to the championship guy, fair enough. And that I would be fine with it. So I'll at least say that I was there back in 2021.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a comment asked, do I think we need a new OC? I'm not saying that we need to have a new OC. I don't know. I just think we need to be more creative. That's just my thing. And because once again, Heupel's done a lot more than a lot of other coaches in the same amount of time he's been there as other, if you want to compare. So no, I'm not saying we got to get rid of Heupel. I'm just saying I just wish we'd be more creative on offense so we're not as predictable, because that's the part from my standpoint that's frustrating is when we are predictable. It just, and no, there's another comment. I don't think Tim Banks will be here next year. I think he will get a head job somewhere. And
he's been good enough this year to warrant that.
Yeah, I agree. And so I could be wrong, but if he doesn't get a head job, I think he at least interviews for 3 or 4.
He did last year. I mean, he was up for a couple last year, if I'm thinking correctly.
But I think this whole deal is evident what we need to do. We need to go get Miller Moss in the transfer portal. I'm being serious.
I know you are. I just didn't know that was where
I'm dead serious. I am dead serious because he lost the starting job. He's more than likely going to transfer.
Oh, he's definitely transferring, yeah. And I think Lincoln Riley might get fired, but
also true. But I'm just saying, why would you not at least go after him? He's a sophomore. Is he a sophomore or junior? Junior?
I think he's young. I want to say he's sophomore. I think that was kind of part of the talking points on him, so that he's younger.
He would have minimum. He's got 1 or 2 years left.
Yeah.
And somebody like that, if they've entered the portal and they don't find somewhere that they really like or guaranteed to start, blah 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 blah. And somebody just says, "What's wrong with Merklinger?" Game experience. And this is probably not a popular take. I do agree with how Dion said last week or the week before about percentage of signing classes that redshirt and then don't end up panning out versus percentage of transfer portal guys that you can bring in that can help immediately instead of being forced to play freshmen immediately. So essentially split your class between high school and transfer portal.
I think it's kind of the way of the future.
Well, I agree with that, though, because then you can go find the guys that you really want to develop and not have to, you are a 2-year developmental guy.
I mean, you look right now. Jermon McCoy, huge. I mean, that big transfer. Omar Norman Lott, who's been one of your best dudes on the defense, he was a transfer.
Transfer.
Brew McCoy from USC. I mean, yeah, that's absolutely a viable way to keep a good
tight end. Yeah. Alabama transfer.
Oh yeah, Kitzelman. I mean, he's been a breakout. Thought he was going to be a depth guy, and he's ended up being a breakout guy. So
that's what I'm saying is I do think we need to obviously sign our high school kids and develop.
Yeah, because you don't want to end up. I mean, the wise man here says it. You don't want to end up like Florida State.
No, exactly. No, we still need to sign our high school kids, but we need the positions we need to help now, and every year that changes, that needs to be the transfer portal positions.
Yeah.
And every year that can change. It can be O-line, safety, corner, long snapper, whatever. But those are the positions I think you go after in the portal. But I always, yes, you need to sign a high school quarterback, 100%. But I think you always need to bring in a transfer portal quarterback that has game experience. You know what I'm saying? To give you depth for when things happen. You got to have depth at that position. And no, I'm not saying I'm out on Nico. I'm just saying to give us depth. Like, say Nico didn't play tonight.
Could have gone to a gas pipe, you know.
Well, no, he may have went out and balled, but I would rather have somebody in the wings waiting that has a couple years playing experience in some way, shape, or form that's done something for us, or not us, but like wherever they were at. That's how I look at it, is because your number 2 needs to be a 1A and 1B.
Well, kind of conversations for down the road.
Yeah.
Tennessee
it's
17.
It's after midnight.
Tennessee 17, Georgia 31. Somebody help Tennessee, please, so that we can make it into the playoff and actually potentially do something. Because I think if you get an opportunity against, let's say, a Notre Dame, I think you can beat those guys. So, yeah, we'll see. Charlie Burris, former Vols quarterback Jonathan Crompton, despite the loss, I think actually a pretty decent show. Hopefully, again, I apologize for the negativity. It's just tough sometimes when it's right there for you and they play like they did in that second half. But, hey, these things happen. All right. Thanks so much to everybody for watching, for hanging out, for commenting. You guys, as always, despite everything that happened, you guys are great. Much better than Tennessee in that second half. All right. That's it. Gonna go sleep. Thank you all for watching. Crompton, appreciate it as always.
Appreciate it, everybody.
And we will talk to y'all next week.